What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Unstructured. This is the after show. I'm your host,
Yeah.
Lion. Join my co-host, Mystery. What's poppin',
What's up? What's
Mystery? How
up?
you doing? How's everybody doing out
Doing
there?
amazing. How about yourself, man?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm pumped. Today was the last episode for season one of The Last of Us. Bittersweet, man. This is a show that I've been looking for a long time, man. But first of all, how was your weekend, Mystery? How was your weekend?
My weekend was very relaxed. Had some friends in town for a ceremony. We went out, showed them around town, and just relaxed. It was great. It's always good to just chill out. How about you, Lion?
Yeah, it was good, man. I actually had a busy weekend. I can't complain. Living the dream out here in Florida. So you know how we do. You know how we do. It was a good weekend. We had a looking forward to this finale and what's coming next. But this was a very special show for us as a gamer, as Mystery, someone who actually watched the summary of the game.
Exactly.
Had a
I watched
couple
the
of
Sunday.
shining episodes there. We can't just do this alone. So throughout this, we have friends of the show, and we're gonna bring our first one friend of the show. We got Mr. Carlos is coming in right up. What's going on, Carlos?
What's
Hey,
going
what's
How
on,
up,
you
Carlos?
doing?
guys? How you doing?
We're doing
Doing all
good,
right,
man. We're
man.
doing good. Thank you for
How about
joining us.
yourself?
We had to have you on for the last episode of the season. So, this is a special show for all of us. So, we're gonna discuss how it fared off for this episode and in general. How was your weekend, by the way?
Well, the weekend was good. Busy, beautiful weather here in Florida. The pollen is that was crazy, but other than that, it
Yeah.
was great.
We're gonna have one more special guest, a very special character, friend of the show, the cowboy. He should be joining a little later down the line. So we're gonna get started. So a couple of things that I wanna kind of go over. This episode had a cameo, or they had just like they done in true fashion for the whole season. One of the cast members, at least two of them from the actual video game, which is Ashley Johnson. Ashley Johnson is Ellie. She's the voice of Ellie in the video game. In this episode, she actually played the mother. She was Ellie's mom, and they gave us a look at how Ellie came to be and how she is immune, which is this was never explained in the video game. This is very new information to us. Mystery, what was your thought on seeing this back? I know you know a little bit about the story, but how you felt about this thing here?
No, I did not. And it's funny you point that out because it didn't click to me until just now that this was one part of the story that I didn't know, which was a complete surprise to me. And it really brought everything full circle. So seeing how Ellie lost her mother and seeing how she gave birth to her child, Ellie's mother gave birth to Ellie under those circumstances really explained a lot. And also, it brought up a few more questions. But we'll get to that a little bit down the line. But it explained why Ellie is immune. And I love this backstory. What were your thoughts, Carlos?
I mean, I think it was very interesting, right? And also, they made a allude back to the knife. So Ellie's being on different episode, right? It looks at the knife, keep it very dearly, but you never understood why. And
Hmm.
starting the last episode with the very beginning of what everything started with, it was really interesting. It was like really nice to see.
That's
For sure.
certainly, and as someone who's played the game, this is a very cool thing. And from what I understand, this is something that Neil Druckmann, who's the creator of the show, always had in mind. He always had this storyline. It's something that was already written with the game, but he never really presented it with the game. There was a lot of stuff that a lot of stuff that was omitted. One other thing that I kind of want to point out: the title of this episode is called "Look for the Light." So if we look at all the titles for the whole season, the first episode was where was it? When you're in darkness, and then this one was look for the light, which is the motto of the Fireflies. So the show starts with the Fireflies, and is literally the end of the Firefly by this episode. That's a nice touch that they had by. I like when TV shows do this. They kind of foreshadow things in the show by adding it in the title. I know the Watchmen did this a lot on that season
Yeah,
of the
they did.
Watchmen on HBO. So when you're lost in the darkness, that's what the episode was called, and then this one look for the light. So that's basically they showed us what episode 1 and episode 9 was gonna be called right off the bat. So that was a nice touch that they have for this particular episode. We also had the most brutal childbirth I ever seen, just because Ellie's mom runs into this house, which, by the way, for those of you who don't know, this is the house from the part 2 of the game. This is where Ellie lives in part 2 of the game. So this is something that they brought from the part 2 to this season 1. We have this nice house, which is kind of broken down, and this is where Ellie lives as an adult. We saw her mom go all the way to a room. She's being pursued by an infected that's ready to bite her as she's giving birth. And as she is giving birth, she stabs and kills the infected. But before that happened, she was infected by the fungi. And this is how Ellie gets her immunity. Mr. E, what was your thought on that scene in regards to the house and how Ashley handled the character of Ellie's mom?
Dude, it was I liked it because it explained plainly why Ellie was immune, is because her mother got bitten and got the fungi, and the body apparently created some type of antibody, which shows that her mother was lying, saying that she cut the umbilical cord before she got bit, which we already knew, but we didn't know like how recently or whatever. But some antibodies were passed along to Ellie, and Ellie was able to reap the benefits of that, which makes the case of the Fireflies kind of legit without me knowing biology that much. But she probably has, if they did the surgery, which we'll get into later, humanity would benefit from it, because she probably has something that could be passed along to the rest of humanity. What are your thoughts, Carlos?
Wait, before we go there,
yes.
We have to stop the show. We have to stop the show.
Hold the press.
We have the sheriffs in town. We have to do a proper introduction. For those of you who don't know, who've seen the show every once in a while, we have a special guest, friend of the show, the cowboy himself. I'm going to bring him up. He's going to do his little intro. Might take 5 to 10 minutes. You know he's long-winded. But hey, we love him. Let's bring on the cowboy from And Now Your Mama.
What's up, cowboy?
Well, first of all, Lion, I done switched things up, baby, because it's no longer And Now Your Mama Knows, and I'm still the double champ, and you can't take these titles. It's bums like you. Hold on, guys, real quick. Started to stop the show. But Lion plays in the wrestling league, and he's been running for about 4 weeks. But guys, I just want to tell you this. The Last of Us is number 1 on my list of best games ever. It's number 1. So the fact that they executed a show from my best game ever played, I can't wait to talk about it. I told my wife, I said, I'm excited to talk to Mr. E and Lion. So with that being said, guys, the Cowboy King of Content is here. Thank you guys so much. You always allow me to dine with greatness. But with that being said, let me take these belts off, because Lion ain't never going to get his hands on them again.
There you go.
Grab a chair and join the conversation. Sorry that I'm a little bit late, but we started a little bit late. All right.
So Cowboys, so you see this right here?
Love it.
We call it the Big Boss Championship. This is the BBC. You never have the BBC in your hands. It's okay. You can still dream on. I'm coming back for what's mine, but that's nor here nor there. If you guys want to join up, Cowboy does something really cool on his channel. On Wednesday, he does something called We Wrestle Wednesdays, where we have a little wrestling tournament on WWE 2K, and we just talk a lot of trash. It's a lot of fun. A lot of people join up. So if you guys want to be part, check him out. His channel is called And Now Your Mama Knows, and we have a blast out there. So he does all kinds of stuff there. So
it's cool, man.
I highly recommend checking him out.
Good to have you on. What's up, Cowboy? What's going on?
What's up, man? And how you doing, Carlos?
Pretty good. How about you, Cowboy?
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. I am great after watching that. I'm dying to talk to these guys and talk to yourself as well. So I'm here.
So just to give you, we just started not too long ago. We were talking about that we first have Ashley Johnson, doing the role of Ellie's mom. We talked about that house. It's from part 2. That house right there is a house where Ellie lives as an adult. We were just talking about the scene where she was giving birth. We was giving our thoughts on it. I think Carlos is gonna give our thoughts, and then Cowboy, you'll finish it up. Carlos, what was your thoughts on that scene there for when she was giving birth?
So the big thing for me, right? I haven't played the game, and I did not want to play the game, even though Lions being on my back to play the game before the show started. But I wanted to see the show so I can be unbiased, have nothing to expect to see, right? To see how it was, and I mean, it was really good. They've always around the show. They've been doing good with picking up the actors and the acting, and kind of set it up the drama. And like you was talking about, Mr. E, so the fact that we get to know a little bit of how she got infected, right? Not cutting the umbilical cord on time, but she said, I cut the umbilical cord on time. Before I cut it before I was bitten. It was very interesting how they put that together. And also how we tie it everything to the leader of the Fireflies, like being so well connected to Ellie from birth. Right? So what does this mean to her throughout the journey as well?
And correct. And Cowboy, what was your thoughts on the opening scene, having Ashley Johnson, the bird scene, everything that's happening there?
Okay, first things first. I didn't know that was the woman that played Ellie. So
Yes.
my wife and I were watching, right? I found out at the end because I watched the thing. And my wife and I was like, at first I was looking, I was like, is that Ellie? And they made her look older. Then my wife was like, oh, maybe that's her real mom. And I'm like, dude, they got somebody to look just like Ellie. And come to find out, how crazy is that? This woman played Ellie like 10 years ago, and the person 10 years later they take to play her in the show looks like her.
Yep.
That's a good point. I was wondering, I had the same thought. It was like, is that Ellie? Because it was kind of dark in here. Right. Is that Ellie? It's like, no, it's not Ellie. It's like, wow, they found someone that looks exactly like her. That's amazing. That's
you know what's cool? When she was talking, because you used to listen to her in the game, it sounds just like how Ellie sounds in the game, her voice. And it's just that you get this little weird moment where like you're mind the game and I'm watching the show, so it was a nice callback to that.
So I didn't find out at the end, so I didn't pick up on that. But the scene itself, oh man, the fact that Marlene had to kill her friend, and you could tell Marlene didn't believe her that she cut the umbilical cord after. She was like, yeah, all right. That was great, man. Good stuff. And I'll say this. So throughout the show, they've been throwing little stuff in the show that wasn't in the game. And every time they did it, we've all liked it. Again, bravo. The show, this scene, right?
No, go ahead, Mr. E.
No, I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Ellie end up in Fedra, like going to school for Fedra to become an officer or something like that?
Right? She was dropped off to be raised by Fedra.
Fireflies to Fedra, like why didn't Eileen take care of Ellie?
So she said that I guess she had a better life or she was safer. She had her she dropped her off at the with Fedra for that reason, and she was trying to always pick her back up, and things just play as they did in the show. I like that they gave us a visual explanation on why Ellie is immune, because we never got that answer in the game. We just know she's just immune, but basically just to explain it, it's like she has a different fungi that creates antibodies, so if she gets bitten, nothing ever happens. She doesn't turn. So a fungi, I guess, lives in her brain and allows her to be immune. I guess the only way to really become that way is if you're born right as someone's being bitten, which is a crazy coincidence, like a 1 in a million situation, 1 in a billion, in a way. So I like that explanation, because nobody, to this day, we never got that explanation. I wonder if they do a part 3 of the game, this is going to be incorporated, or if they do like some kind of DLC just to incorporate into the game going forward. From that, we jump to forward to Ellie in present time, and we have an Ellie that is feeling the effects of episode 8 of dealing with David and the cannibals. This has changed Ellie's we can assume, for at least for the meantime, she's not the same chipper kid that's cracking up knock jokes. She's eager, she's bothering Joel. No. We have an Ellie that's sad since she's depressed. She's losing her thoughts. She feels like, man, the things that we have had to do, the brutality that they have to display in order to get here, especially the way she murdered David, has definitely affected her personality. To add to that, we have the inverse happening with Joel. Joel is already accepted her as his own, and he's trying to find a way to accommodate her, make her feel better. Hey, here's some Chef Boyardee. Hey, here's the game that you will be really good at. He's trying to make like to talk to her in a way that will inspire her to be more motivated. Carlos, let me start with you. What was your feeling? What are your thoughts on the interactions that we see present time with Ellie and Joel because due to their effects of episode 8?
So it's interesting because you see the roles being reversed, right? You have all through the episode being through the season, Joel being very cold-hearted, and little by little they're trying to play out the bond. But now in episode 8, you see Ellie that has picked up a lot of Joel's habits, and on this episode you can see it as well, right? When Joel is trying to talk to her and trying to kind of be that charming one and the nice one, but then you see when Joel is asking Ellie, "Wait, what? Do you know what I'm thinking? What we're gonna do next?" And Ellie already knows all the moves, right? So you're seeing Ellie kind of becoming Joel in a sense, picking all of their habits. Kind of that bonding already happened, but also you see Joel now opening up in a different way. Right? So now Joel is the one trying to be more vulnerable, and Ellie's being the one being a little bit more close and cold.
Yeah, certainly. Like she's definitely not. It's role reversal, and this has been happening very slowly since episode 6, since episode 5, if I'm not mistaken. And that's when the Henry episode when when Sam she had to be put down, and Joel was building up the graves, and we see Ellie walk away. So they've slowly been hinting at this little by little. Cowboy, same question for you. What was your thought on that scene and interactions between Joel and Ellie?
I think her almost being eaten in the last episode messed her up. I feel that she almost felt she wasn't going to get out of that one. And she ended up killing the one guy and then escaping and then brutally murder what I guess his name is what was his name? David. Brutally murdered David, right? And I think that messed her up. She's still in her head of, because the whole thing about her is she really didn't kill that many people, right? So this is new to her, killing people. And I mean, that she brutally murdered him. So I think she's still in her head and having flashbacks about what she did and how she overcame almost dying.
That's certainly the way she took care of David was she had to dig deep, and survival mode kicked in, and every single lesson she has learned from Joel, she applied and she eliminated David, but that wasn't without a cause, and we see what the cause is in this episode. Mystery, what was your thoughts on that scene?
I agree with both of you. It's sort of like a blend between the two, because I was thinking about this, and it's like, well, like Carlos said, are they switching or are they going through like phases? Ellie she's been forced to grow up. There's no longer any childhood for her. She has to grow up in order to survive in this world. But Joel, he had to go through his grief stage and finally finish that and come to terms with that, which I think he did towards the end of the series. And I think now Ellie is beginning that process, which was kicked off by her recent incident with Dave. And she needs to come out on the other side of that, which it'll be a long start. So at that moment when they're sitting down and Joel explains, how he got shot and all that other stuff, and the lesson behind it, which Ellie thought she knew, but she didn't know. I think that has more of an effect on her, or it's more meaningful because it's telling her, you're just starting to go through this phase where you're tightening up and you're realizing how dangerous the world is, especially right now. But you got to learn to live life and enjoy it. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, this episode, I have some mixed feelings. Let me not get into it right now because I have some mixed feelings about it. I've been hyping it up too much. Going on. So
please do tell.
I'm gonna get in a minute. We're gonna get in pretty close. Next up, one thing that I have to point out, Joe was even making jokes and trying to come up with some ways to get to talk. Until they get into this building, which something you have in the game. I have to say they did follow the game fairly closely. There were scenes that I thought they were not gonna keep and that they kept. And one of those scenes is the giraffes. They get to a point where they get to a building. We see Ellie gets very animated, and when we find out that she sees some giraffes, and this is something that's very, very different for her. She's not like she's being raised by Fedra her whole life. She's probably never been to the zoo, never been experienced this kind of exotic animals, especially being out in the wild. That is Salt Lake City, Utah. And we see that they start feeding the animals, and this is the moment when they finally are able to. We get our Ellie back, and we have that bonding moment when Joel shows how to feed the giraffes. And before let me read a quick comment here from Room, our main man Room. Damn, I see you got a whole crew tonight. We had to do a little bit bigger than normal. We had to have the cow. We had to have Carlos over because it's the last episode of the season before we move on to something else. So we had to definitely have it. And what's up to you? Right back to you, Room. I really, really enjoy that scene. I think I mentioned that to you, Carlos. Kind of hinted like I know they're gonna get rid of the giraffe scene. It seems like a silly thing, and let me just put at least a picture. I couldn't find one from the show in short notice, but I did find one from the game. And essentially, this plays just like it plays in the game when she sees the giraffe, and they feed her, and then they have that father-daughter moment, just one more moment before they have to do what they have to do. One thing I wanted to say is I think that not just Ellie was being affected by what happened with David, but I think in her mind, she was realizing that their journey is coming to an end. Do you guys think that had to play any effect? It is an open question to anyone want to answer it.
Most definitely. I mean, and you can see that Joel's kind of knows as well. That's kind of why he started planning the future, like talking about what's gonna happen after. And you haven't seen that part of Joel yet until this episode of he actually planning specifically what they want to do together after everything happens, after they conclude their journey. Kind of trying to tell her, hey, we're here together. I'm gonna be with you the entire time. Once this is not the ending, right? This is just one stop, and we'll continue to move on.
Yeah. And Cowboy, as someone who's played the game, what was your thoughts on down there seeing the giraffe in there?
I think what was cool was it was there, right? You're like, wow, they put this part together, right? And my wife that's her favorite animal. So I thought, and she played the game with me, so it was cool that.
Shout out to Sandy.
Yeah, man, all of that stuff coming together. She was like, oh, the giraffes, and But I think what was really great was this was the moment to give you that last chance to sell you on the ideal of Joel is looking at Ellie as a daughter and a caretaker and a father figure, right? This is your last chance to get this emotional connection that's going to really sell the reason why he can't live without her. And they gave it to us properly with them spending time with the giraffes. And she was even reserved to the giraffes, and he ripped off the things and gave it to her so she could feed the giraffes. And that was really good for me to see. He's moving so forward because he's really, really into her. And I think we've seen that moment when he said baby girl to her on the last episode, because that's what he called his daughter.
Correct. And let me ask you, Cowboy, because it just dawned on me in this panel. Then we haven't had the opportunity to have someone like you in here. I'm not outing anyone, but I think you're the only one with daughters, or as a father.
Yeah, I got 3 daughters, man. 3 daughters and a granddaughter.
So is there do you see this show a little bit different, or like this relationship between Joel and Ellie a little bit different since you are a parent and have multiple daughters?
Not really. I kind of separate myself from, like, I think because the show is so far-fetched, right? And it's like post-apocalyptic. And I love sci-fi stuff. So it's in my bucket of sci-fi, science fiction. So I never really connected to someone would have to ask me a specific question, like what would you do? But I was able to play this game and not really look at it like that. So because it's so story driven. It's like if you just went to the movies and sat down and watch a movie, you just take what they give you, right? And so when you play the game, you take what they give you. So I never really looked at it as like, oh, what if this was me? It's just so beautifully written and so far-fetched that I never really like stopped and put it to myself. Plus, I got 3 daughters, so I would have to figure like, okay, which daughter do I put above
Which
the
one's the favorite? We want to get
yeah,
you in
right?
trouble on
Like,
this screen. For sure, for sure. And then after that beautiful scene, anybody else want to comment that you have seen, Mr. E? Perhaps.
No, I liked it. I was wondering where they came from. So apparently the zoo. I'm kind of curious how they lasted for so long. There had to be some type of human intervention. That's just where my mind went, and that was it.
Room, just to answer that, I don't think Joe is dumb. I think Joe is a man that has lost purpose in his life, and taking this job to take this little girl from point A to point B has returned that back to him, giving a reason to live, and he's willing to risk it all and burn the world if he has
Let's
to.
get to it at the end. You know,
We'll get to it. We'll get to
yeah,
it. And from that point, then we have another scene where they're walking together, and now they have that banter going back and forth, and they get hit with a grenade or a flash, some kind of concussion grenade.
Concussion grenade, yeah.
And that was the Fireflies. When Joel comes to, they're at the hospital that they've been looking for. This is where the Fireflies are at, and we have a scene that ensues with Joel and Marlene, where Marlene explains that the cordyceps fungi lives in her brain when she was born and creates the antibodies. This is why she's able to not turn and survive and be immune, and that the doctor is maybe able to remove this and replicate this and create a vaccine. Dawns on Joel that doing this may kill Ellie, and at that moment, trouble's about to start. He's escorted out of the guards are told to escort Joel out of the building. Before we get into what's coming next, what was you guys' thought on that scene? Carlos, I'm gonna start with you.
So I think that scene has a couple of good, powerful messages, right? One, you have Joel reaching out. Where's Ellie? Like, you can see now he's fatherly figure coming in and protect and kind of being protective of Ellie. But you have now Marlene also showing on her side, hey, I know this girl, she was born, and you can tell that Joel was gonna be trouble. Right? That's why she tells him, hey, I never thought that you were gonna be the one that I'm gonna owe something to. You will be the last person that I want to owe something to. So she's in the pickle of, I know I need to kill him.
She knows how dangerous he is. She knows it.
But I owe him, so I'm gonna let him go, which he also knows is a mistake. But if you catch as they're escorting Joel away, Marlene actually, they zoom in on her and she's actually crying. So because she also understands that she's actually killing this child that she was supposed to be protecting, but she's convinced that she has to do so to save humanity, for the greater good. So, and it ties very well with the title of the episode, right? Because everybody's trying to look for the light. So for Marlene was the girl, right, that she's gonna sacrifice her for humanity. For Joel, the girl was his light. Right? That's his future. That's pulling her out of the darkness. So that scene right there it gives you so much compact in just a couple of minutes.
So, certainly. And Cowboy, what was your thoughts on that?
I just want to second what Carlos said. The parallels of Marlene saying, no, I'm the only one that understands because I was there when she was born, right? So it almost trumps Joel. Like, to a point, I was like, because I'm thinking like, no, Joel lost his daughter. And so this is like a daughter. But when Marlene, it's like she put her trump card on the table, like, no. I supersede your feelings for this girl because I seen her when she was born. Not only that, her mom was my best friend. And I promised her mom that I would take care of her. So it's like, man, and to be honest, in her mind, right, it's the best thing to do because it's for society, right? It's for mankind to move forward. And that scene was just great because as a show, it's really building up to this, right? And we'll get into it, obviously, but it's building up to, was it right? Was it wrong? And to see Marlene's like, this is the way, pretty much. And Joel is like, hell no. And like he said, Carlos said, they escorted him out, and Marlene crying because she feels it. just as much as Joel. Is just that she believes this is right and Joel believes this is wrong.
She's trying to do it for the greater good.
Yeah.
Mystery, what are your thoughts on that?
Dude, everybody's right. They've been hitting the nail on the head, and it's those two conundrums. Do you save the one and sacrifice the many, or do you sacrifice the one and save the many? And it creates this moral dilemma where, as the individual viewer has to decide which way is right. I'm sure there are some people out there that would actually argue that Ellie should have been sacrificed to save humanity because society can grow instead of going backwards. You know, I'm sure the population is dwindling and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. They would be able to build and move forward if Ellie was sacrificed. However, because of that connection that Joel has with Ellie, would you allow someone that plays a role of your daughter essentially to be sacrificed for that? And a lot of the other people would say no. And it's great theater. It's a great situation to really have people choose a side.
You know, and that's right. And before I get into what I'm gonna say, we have 9 to 10 people watching. Don't forget to like if you enjoy the content. Subscribe.
Hit that button.
Thank you so much for being being here with us. So, as you guys were saying, you know, this is throughout the whole season. Some of the biggest ways the director has used to communicate big chunks of the story has been just by facials and just the little subtle things. Having Marlene almost crying, Ellie's facials, Joe's facials. That's where the story is adding up to that story. It's that seasoning that it needed to bring it to the next level. And that's where you get great acting, great cinematography, great shots. And that's what really enhances those scenes for the episode. And we're going to get into the action. So a big criticism for the show is that it's focused too much on the drama, that it's focused too much on relationships, on everything else but the action. At the end of the day, this story is based out of a video game that has a lot of action, some of the best gun and bow gameplay, brutal gameplay that's available. And we have not seen much of it. We haven't seen much of the infected. And in this episode, we finally got we were to get a lot of action, and we did get some action. We had a montage of Joel just ripping through the hospital, and it felt a little too fast. And this is why I put that poll question: that do you think the episode was hurt because of how short the story was hurt because of how short the episode was? I think they should have allowed this to breathe a little more. But that's not here nor there. Carlos, what was your thought on this scene? Seeing Joel take matters into his hands and going on a vengeance quest.
Now, I'm with you. I'm like finally getting some actions on the show, right? Because after you getting episode 1, that was fantastic, very captivating, action driven. Episode 1 gave you everything. I was expecting episode 9 to give me everything as well. And I mean, you can see Joel kind of becoming Rambo, right? Invincible, just running through. You can see his protective side going in and just killing everybody. But it was a very short scene, right? It was pushed through and it was quick. Other than that, I mean, we get a little bit of actions. We get to see Joel getting back into his old self, the person that, you know, Marlene is scared of, that she knows what he's capable of. Because through the entire show, we don't see Joel like that either. Like everybody's painting Joel like this badass person, and you don't get to see that until now. Which it was good to watch. It was fun to watch.
Real quick, shout out to Plant Based Ministry.
What up, Plant Based Ministry?
Good to see you around. Yeah, it's good to see some of our old viewers show up every once in a while. Plant Based Ministry, thanks for coming through. He says Joe equals John Wick, Fireflies equals the gang who couldn't shoot straight. But okay,
hold on.
I get it.
I got something for that. They equal stormtroopers because none of them.
Yeah,
Right.
That's facts. That's facts. We have room with the action was crazy. Joe really won 1 versus 20. It was like taking candy from a baby. These guys might as well been blind.
Yeah, we were talking about this, and that whole scene. I agree with you, Carlos. I think that it was rushed, And if they were trying to personify the fact that Joel sort of like blacked out and just offed everybody, for me that was missed because they rushed over the whole thing and they really didn't like. Even if you black out, I think he would be a little bit more brutal, even though he did eliminate a guy with the gun. It was just it was less personal. It was just, let's get the scene over in a minute or two, and then let's move on to something else. The emphasis wasn't there on that particular scene. What are your thoughts, Cowboy?
I disagree, man. I watched it and I knew what was coming. For me, if they would have had this all-out super John Wick thing, it would have felt out of place, right? You guys all agree that it wasn't so action heavy. I think you guys are forgetting the episode. You said, "Oh, Joe didn't seem like that guy." Yeah, he was when he was up in the snipers thing, taking people out left and right. And
it's
the
just
creature,
here and there, though.
Hold on. When the creature was trying to come to Ellie, because the thing is, right? It's more like a friend of mine said, "I never played a game and I didn't watch the show. Which should I do first?" I said both are story driven. Yes, the game has gameplay, so you run around, but let's be honest, the killing in the game is kind of repetitive, right? It's the killing in the game is cut in between stories. So you're really more about watching this story, and then they say, okay, now you take over with the character. And you kind of run around and you do things, but you're always killing and having fun. The gameplay is great, like Lion said, but it's really about getting to play the character and have fun because it's a video game, and then let the story take back over. So for me, it's story-driven show, right? I get the action, but the action really in the game it's a game, video game. So they give you that, but it's overdone. Like you're not gonna have as much action in the game because they're just doing. Because if it was the least amount of action is in the show, then you just wouldn't play the game. You're like, that game sucked, right? So what I'm getting to is he didn't black out. That was calculated. Joe didn't black out. It was calculated. He knew that he had a certain amount of time to get to Ellie because she's on the operate. Remember, Marlene said she is getting prepped for surgery, and it's brain surgery. Nothing. He didn't black out. It was calculated. He killed dude. He said, "Look, even when dude he said, I don't got time for this." Shot him. He don't have time. Took the ammo, it's calculated. If he blacked out, he would have left the ammo. No, show him take the ammo. He knows that his guys with guns, and he have to kill them all in a certain amount of time because she's being prepped for brain surgery. So for me, if they made so much shooting, it'd be like, come on, bro. They would have already opened her brain up. And then it would have been a little redundant. Like, oh, really, Joe? You had time to kill 30 people and they didn't cut her brain open yet? So I feel like that had to make sense for the certain amount of people he killed. So for me, I feel like they gave me what I wanted as a fan of the game, and they didn't get again, because like you guys said, the whole thing wasn't action heavy. And so the last episode, I feel he killed, I don't know how many, we probably could go back and count how many people killed, but I think it was good enough. Now, you all guys are also forgetting, if you can't assassinate Joel's character that they build up, right? Because I feel they gave us those glimpses. Episode 8, when he woke up, right? After being being messed up because of stab, when he beat those guys up and captured them, dude, it came with him stabbing this guy in the legs. He said, "Listen, I will rip your kneecap off." Like Joe was not a punk. And if you pay attention, he made it clear. And then to show you so much, when Joe told to put the knife in the guy's mouth and said, "Point to it on the map, and if your friend tell me it's wrong, we're gonna have a problem." He point to it, and then Joel kills him. His friend said, "Why'd you kill me?" Told you. He said, "Because I believed him." I said, "Oh my God, Joel is a savage. Please don't assassinate Joel's character. Joel's a savage."
That's fair. I can agree with you on that. Real quick, point. Shout out to General Grievous 19. Thank you for coming through. We got it coming from Room. We have Joel's a savage. Last episode when he was interrogating two guys is probably my favorite action scene. Cowboy called it. There you go. No, we had those moments. I think it should be more consistent. What I would have loved to see in this episode, because they did a montage. I love what happened in the stairs. That was perfect. Yeah. When he goes into the hallways, we got music playing. It's just bang, bang. Like, these guys are nothing, right? I would have liked to see that to be a little slower. Add an extra 10 minutes just to allow for that scene. just build up like Joe killing, maybe struggling with a couple of things. It's a lot of them. Give me a little more of a reality of it. That the Joe's struggling a little bit. He's glowing and just finding out a way to kind of kill this guy, choking him with his own hands. Brutal, like they've been doing in the show. I think the montage, if I felt like they did it just to save time, that's my issue.
Can I ask you one question? If they gave an extra 10 minutes of him killing the guys, right? Let's say they added extra 10 guys he killed. Would you not felt like, you know how when you watch a movie, you're like, oh, come on. When he finally would have got to her, you'd be like, really? They never didn't Marlene say way back when she was prepped for surgery? Like, it just so happened they didn't start cutting her open yet. Would you not?
So they were prepping for surgery, right? So what's more believable, that they took forever to prep for surgery, or that one guy killed 50? Like, come on, I can accept that the doctor were slow. They never done brain surgery. It's not like the world's ended, right? How prepared they have the instruments. That could take forever. You know, the anesthesia they have is old. Could take forever to put it to sleep.
Actually, they gave you a hint of it that you left out. What you could have said was, because they said, do we have enough power? They clearly, the building, the lights was going in and out. So that actually makes sense. But I think to your point, though, and to my point, is he didn't kill that many people. So it kind of like evens out, right? He didn't drag it out and kill that many people. So he killed, a couple dudes, made his way. And again, that seems like the Fireflies are kind of like on their last legs to a point, right? So, but anyway, either way, it was good. I get your point as well, though.
And from there,
go ahead.
And from there, we get that scene that I also think that was a missed opportunity. This, because I wouldn't want to cover. You play the second game, right?
Who, me?
You play the second game, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, I won't go too deep into it, but this scene is important.
Yeah, we're here. Trust me. We're here.
It's very important, and it needed to be longer than what it was. It needed to be a little more dramatic than what it was.
I was thinking that, but then I was trying to remember. Again, I don't remember because it's like I beat the game so long ago. Every episode, every episode at end, I go to see if the game lowered in price yet. I'm buying it again, but I don't want to buy it if it's more than $40, right? So I went and checked, like, it's still $69. But so I don't remember, but I don't remember if in the game it went that quick as well.
No, it was lower. There was a conversation that it was had, and you kind of think about it, and then the doctor makes a move, and Joel just
it's going to make they're going to make that scene into a flashback, I'm sure.
That's what I'm thinking. You're gonna see. I can't go into it because he's gonna spoil stuff.
Here's the thing. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the issue is Joel loves Ellie so much, and so for him, killing all these people was he didn't even think about it. However, we won't get into it, but I feel like it almost had to go that way because it's a sympathy of the audience. Like now, we all agree with what Joel did, kind of, sort of. Well, we'll get into it, I'm sure, but there's going to be a other side to remember, these people that Joel just killed, don't they got family members out there? So is he the bad guy? But they want you, see, if they go too into it, right, with a doctor clearly trying to save the world, again, you have to make the fracture of the question, was he right or was he wrong, appeasable enough to feel that some people will say he was right? But if you make is like, you don't want to give too much sympathy on the side of he was wrong. Like if he had a long conversation and then still killed a doctor and shot both nurses in the back, then you'd be like, yo, come on, Joe. So I feel like just making it a quick, bam, got to get Ellie. Then it stops us from being like, man, like for instance, right? The bad guys, which we would consider the soldiers, you almost watch it. You got no remorse. I don't care. They're soldiers, right? The doctor, if you drag it out, then it's going to be like, all right, come on, Joe, you could have let him live, but we know you know what I'm saying? So I'm just saying.
I looked at that scene when he killed the doctor, and my thought was, okay, so the doctor said something and he didn't like the response. Nobody else is going to cut into Ellie except for the doctor. He still could have said, repeated himself, or just shot him in the leg, and then had them undo it. I didn't think that the doctor needed to die in this situation, especially when the world's ending or the world is in a catastrophe. So you need doctors. So I thought that was an unnecessary elimination.
I think I kind of want to disagree with that one. I think that doctor scene was perfect. Everything else before that, they could add at least one more minute and have him struggle. But if in Joel's mind, you have to think about if he let the doctor live, he also is gonna be able to operate again on Ellie. So he needs to eliminate any threat possible so that Ellie is safe. So he doesn't gonna give him a chance. So that's the same. Well, I don't want to skip ahead, but right, that's what happens further on. It's that scene was really great. It just for him quitting like 20, 30 people, I think they can make him struggle a little bit more. And like Cabo said, it was calculated because you see him stopping and looking at before he was bringing to the staircase, he's looking at the signs, saying what floor he's at, what floor is the operations room. So he was mapping it out and stalling to kind of understand and lay the map of the area. But he went through so easily, which is the problem. That's the only problem that I have. They could make him a little struggle so much, maybe get a couple of more fire in so he has to cover and then proceed. He just went there and just like if the guys were not even trying. That's the only thing that I'll add.
Let me ask you a question though, Carlos, real quick. So you said he went through it kind of easy. Well, if you added 10 more guys, you'd have been like, bro, how'd Joel kill 10 guys? Like, is it really Star Wars and nobody could hit him? Think about it. It'd be even worse. We'd be like, bro, Joel just killed like 30 dudes, one guy, right?
It was like 7 of them that he killed. Something like
I wouldn't even add more guys. I would have just made him struggle to it a little bit more.
So, like more of a firefight.
Right. So hide a little bit, receive some gunfire, maybe, show him struggle something. Maybe get shot in the arm. I don't know, but don't make it so easy.
Yeah, show him dodging a bullet. At least. Instead of like, these bullets can't hit me.
It was like RoboCop. The man was like, yo, you want some of this? You get this work. You get a bullet. You get a bullet. It was like going through him like, yo, it was like the game was on easy mode. Just like Cowboy plays his games.
It's like these stupid heroes and their stupid bullets.
Yeah. Real quick. So I have put a question in the poll earlier was, should the episode have been longer? We have 57% said no, 42% said yes. I'm one of those that said that the episode was hurt. I guess I'm in the minority. Did you guys think the episode was hurt by being shorter?
Yep.
I personally, I feel they gave me everything I wanted, right? And what I was afraid of is if they drag. So obviously I want an hour episode, but after watching it, I'm like, you know what? I don't know what else I would have wanted. Because I know you guys want more interaction. And maybe I think Carlos nailed it. Nailed it. The head.
Nail in the head. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nail in the head.
Maybe he could have got shot. Maybe he could have dipped, crawled a little bit. But I didn't need him to kill more people because then I would have been able to. One thing I don't like is if I get to nitpick, and I get you guys criticism. But if he killed more people, I'd be like, all right, come on, bro. Joel is not like this. Ain't the game. In that scene, you kill like 100 people in the game. Like that's really
you do. It's
you
glorious.
do.
It's a
you
glorious
kill like
episode.
right, but it's a video game. But but to go back to your question, I think what they gave me, and even they added stuff that wasn't in the game. They added the beginning. I'm like, you know what? They put a good little ribbon on it. Because I can't think of what else. Like, let's say we lost about 10 minutes, right? I can't think of what else they should have did with that 10 minutes. So for me, I was okay. So I was one of the people that voted that was good enough time.
I just would have liked to see struggle, like somebody choking him. He has to use his hands. Just a little more of that. But with the doctor being shot, he retrieving Ellie from them. Then finally we get to the parking garage. In the parking garage, he's met with a surprise that Marlene has been waiting for him. And she's kind of trying to reason with him. Hey, listen, we can still do this. We can, even with what you've done, we can still make this happen. And Joe kind of plays possum in a way and choose Marlene. And from there, they cut back to the car. What would you guys start on that scene? Carlos, I'm going to start with you.
I mean, I think that scene was brilliant, right? You started first with him and Marlene talking. Then you end with Marlene knowing exactly where he's going to go, which is to find the vehicle. And she's waiting right there for him just to stop him at the end. Right? And she has so much faith that, hey, we can make this work, that we can save the world, trying to reason it to him, right? But she doesn't she makes her first mistake, right? she doesn't understand that she can't reason with him. And she lowers her weapon and everything. It was good. That was a good scene. Short, quick, to the point, how it should have.
And Cowboy, what was your thoughts on that scene with Marlene waiting for Joel?
Well, I want to know why you always picking on Carlos. It's messed up, man. Always putting him in the front of the class and whatnot. I think what was cool was like Carlos said, they went from the garage and then they threw it in the car and then they came back, right? They messed with you a little bit because when I was watching it, I was like, so as I'm watching it, I kept, because a lot of it I can't remember because it's been so long. But I vividly was like, oh, the parking garage. I kept saying the parking garage, right? So they get down the parking garage, and in my head, I'm like, oh, I know what's going to happen, right? So I thought the scene was good. I mean, I think what's cool is she specified, not even that, oh, we can still save the world, that I'm going to look the other way and let you go, right? We're not going to come after you. Just give us Ellie, and we just call it that. And, you know, at the end of the day, nothing was changing Joel's mind because honestly, this was his second chance to be a father. This was like he would be losing his daughter twice and nothing was going to change his mind. It was beautiful.
Dude,
And Mr. E, what's your thoughts there?
Carlos said it, and I'm going to say it and put an exclamation point on it. What's her name? Marlene gave Joel a pass in the beginning of the episode. She gave Joel a pass, right? She was going to eliminate him, and she decided not to because she felt that she owed him. And now the tables are turned where Joel could give Marlene a pass even after he shot her, and he didn't. So whose fault was that? Marlene's. She should have eliminated him at the beginning, and none of this stuff would have happened. But she has to live with her decision, which was not too long. So
she showed mercy and courtesy because of the favor that Joel did.
Yeah,
and that cost her. That cost her. Exactly. That cost the world, essentially. That cost the world.
So she was making a tough decision on Ellie, but she wasn't making a tough decision on Joel, and Joel ended up making that tough decision on her. Somebody had to go, and apparently it was Marlene that had to go this episode.
Yeah, but you know what? She said it, man. She said, because she never liked Joel. She said, you're the last person I ever want to owe anything. So I feel that was so great because the show her disdain for him, right? She doesn't like him, but you know what? He did her a big solid. Even after Tess dying, he still committed to taking Ellie. And even after he made it to the place she told him to go to, mind you, where Tess died, he could have stopped right there and said, listen, I went there, Fireflies wasn't there, I'm done. But he even went as far to go and find them, and it just so happened she happened to be there, right? So I feel like it was perfect for her to say, you know what? I owe you. We're going to let you live, right? I feel like she did owe him. She owed him. But again, like you said, Mr. E, it backfired.
And you know, this plays just exactly like the game plays. This is the point that out of all the episodes, this is probably the closest to the game that we got. You know, the one thing that I really like they did is that he shoots Marlene, and from there, instead of showing us what happens next, Ellie wakes up in the car and Joel's driving, and Joel makes up this story that these raiders attacked, and there was all the other people that already were immune, that he barely got her out of there. Ellie just turns back, like she knows this doesn't feel right. And Rune was pointing that out here on the comment. He was saying that he felt like Ellie deep down knew Joel was lying. We kind of know the answer to that due to part 2. But yeah, like it was beautifully done. This is how you know this story, even though it was from a video game back in 2013, is so well crafted and well written. It's always one of the most legendary stories ever made. I like coming back once Joel tells the story to what happens to Marlene, where they have that conversation, and he ends up, he knows I cannot let you live. Like just the same way I had to eliminate the doctor, I had to take care of you. So Joel is ready to bring Ellie to Jackson so they can have the father-daughter life that he wanted to fulfill his purpose as a father. I'm going to ask a question, which I just put a poll for that as well. Do you guys agree with the decision at the end of the episode? Was Joel right, or was he wrong? Would you guys have acted differently? I'm gonna start with Cowboy in this one, since he doesn't want me to pick on Carlos.
There you go.
So Rune made a joke and he said Cowboy would sell one of his kids for a bag of chips. I've always told my kids this: if it's a post-apocalyptic world, I'm a survivalist, man. I want to live more than anybody else. So if you're here's the thing: I'm not gonna sell my kids for chips. But what I will say is, if we're running and you're slow, I'm leaving you. I'm not the guy to turn back around because I'm not gonna die because you get caught or tripped. I gave you life. Right? So yeah, and listen, I gave you life. So in this situation, I would want to save the world. So I think Joel was wrong. Yeah,
you'd be like, I can make a couple of more. That's okay.
I got 4 kids already, so we could throw out a couple more. Actually, wait, no, I can't. I got a vasectomy like 18 years ago, so it's over now. So.
You gotta love Cowboy. Cowboy's honest. Cowboy would be David on episode 8. He's like, we're out of food. Bring one of the kids, bring him in. You don't need that leg.
I don't like the taste of meat, but you gotta survive.
You gotta do what you gotta do. Mystery, what's your thoughts on there?
Repeat the question. I'm sorry.
The question is, do you agree with Joel's decision at the end of the episode? Was Joel right? Was he wrong? And would you have done something different?
To lie to Ellie, I probably would have told her the truth, man. Like that's just who I am in real life. So I would have been like, no.
But not just that. Would you have done something different? Would you have allowed her to be experimented on? Would you think that was the right way to go? You think he was right by taking her from the doctors?
It's so tough, but probably not. Most likely not. But it's just like, it's to have this whole situation, the whole apocalypse situation end from her sacrifice is very tempting. But I probably wouldn't. I probably would not have shot the doctor. I would have, in my mind, thought, well, maybe there's a way that we could have two. Have both of them, save Ellie and get the cure. But if not, then we got to find out a different way. Maybe we can reproduce the situation and sacrifice that new baby.
Hey, Mr. E, come on, bro. Now, see, we need a clear answer. You tiptoeing. You need an A.
Dude, I'm keeping it real because I'm playing the role of Joel right now, where he's connected to her, right? Like if this was just purely unconnected decision, it's like, well, Ellie's got to go, but they've come a long way from Massachusetts to where was it? Wyoming? Not Wyoming, but just before Wyoming. They come a long way, been through a lot, so now there's that connection where he doesn't necessarily want to do that. Now, if it were me in general, it's maybe she's got to go. In just scientifically, but it would be a tough decision.
No, because that's what I was. Because I feel like you didn't answer the question. You was like
a politician.
He was like, I'll try to see if there's other ways.
No, I would try to do both. I would try to save her and get somebody to do brain surgery. And
no, you're not answering the question. Marlene made it clear. If
he said, what would I do? That's what I would do.
No, but if they do, because what I want to hear is you either gonna let her die or you're gonna save her. That's what I want to know.
No, I would try to do both, and then if I couldn't do both, let's say this, and not do both, because I would. No, I'm an engineer by trade, so the whole question, my thought process is, well, do we have to be that?
You gotta pick one. You got 30 seconds. You gotta pick one.
Yeah,
right there. It's at the table. They're gonna put in.
After I knew for a fact that we couldn't save both of them, then it would be like, well, maybe she has to go. But I wanted to eliminate her initially. Go ahead.
But I think that whole issue lies on two things. Marlene wanted to do whatever she thought was right. Joel wanted to do whatever he thought was right. Doesn't matter if it was the right thing or not.
Right.
And then Marlene hit it right at the end when she knew that she was messed up. It said, what will she decide? And I think that's the key question to everything. That's kind of what, when you see Joel get demoralized and even question his decision, even though he went through it, because you can see he changed, right? So, and my thought process was, Marlene is forcing her without telling her what's going to happen. right? So Joel in his mind, no, I don't have an option. She doesn't have an option. You're not gonna give her one. So why should I give you one either? Right? So in that aspect, I think I will defend Joel. Idealistic will be, hey, let her grow a little bit. Let us enjoy and her time and let her choose as she's mature enough. But the problem is Joel knew that was not going to happen. Marlene wasn't going to give that choice to Ellie. She was, as soon as he dropped her, he was going to go on the table and to the surgery, right? Which that's the root of the entire problem, and the moral question that we have is no one considered what Ellie wanted, even though at the end we kind of know more or less say, hey, she probably would have chosen to sacrifice herself.
Yeah.
But we knew there wasn't a choice.
Good point.
So,
Well, let me ask you guys a different question. Could I phrase it a little different, Lion?
Sure, go ahead.
All right. Ellie
Troublemaker, go ahead.
or the world? Ellie or Carlos? Ellie or the world? Can you answer that? Now you're Joel, right? And you get it. It's Ellie or the world. Now I get it. Mr. E said they went from Wyoming and before blah blah blah. I get that. But I just want to know Ellie or the world.
So I'll answer you this way. Do we know for certain that actually was going to work?
Thank you. There you go.
And that's the other.
Before you go in there, because this is my answer. I've been waiting. Do not go. I'm gonna go this part because I have this on my pocket for the whole time. I'm gonna blow it. Blow the lid of this. Like Carlos goes and says it. God damn. So this is the thing. This is the thing. I would choose Ellie, and this is why. I don't know what the doctor's qualifications are. I don't know if this vaccine is going to work. I don't know if they're going to be able to do the procedure correctly. I don't know if they've done the right test. I don't know anything about this guy. This is the world ended 20 years ago. You're going to tell me the Fireflies found the only neurosurgeon that knows how to make this vaccine, right? This guy is guessing. He's probably read a couple of books. He's never tried it. So more than likely, Ellie's going to die in that table. We're not going to get a vaccine, and that's that. Joe is thinking like, this is not going to work. Nah, this was a long shot already. Us getting here. You guys couldn't they weren't efficient enough to get a girl from point A to point B. They weren't efficient enough to protect their own headquarters. They weren't efficient enough to take Marlene after just with her group of people from point A to point B and all come together. Joe, one dude, got from one side of the country to the other, and he knows I am effective, I am capable, I am gonna take this girl is my daughter. She's gonna grow. She's gonna have a happy life because these people don't know what they're doing. So I would choose Ellie. That is my answer on that. That's what I would go with. Go ahead, Carlos.
I agree with you 100%. That's like no one there says that. Hey, there's a guarantee. They said when Marlene was talking, she's talking about, well, the doctor thinks that he can't do this. The doctor thinks that this is where it is. And granted, it's a trial and error, but you only have one chance. It's not like you have a bunch of kids like this either. So the Fireflies were not thinking through how to really fix it. They were working more through desperation instead of strategically planning it. Right? Because that's where I go where Marlene messed up on saying you didn't give anybody a choice. You're doing whatever you think is right. Instead of like, well, let's protect her. Let's do some blood sample. Let's study it. Let's have a plan in place that will work. So it kind of shows the desperation of where the world was at the point in where the Fireflies were. Because you can also, when she says, hey, we lost half of our people just coming in here, right? So the Fireflies were fighting a losing battle. So I'm with Lion on this one. Like I would have chosen Ellie. Like
I'm with my man Rune.
And I would like to change my answer to Lion's spontaneous answer that he just came off of the top of the dome with. I'm going to change it to that one.
Boom! There you go.
I think the whole world being on the line for one person. Listen, dude. If it was me, and that's what she was alluding to, and you see it on Ellie's face at the end. If it was me, I would want them to experiment, kill me to save the world, and that's why Marlene said, "What do you think Ellie would have said?" And Joel know Ellie would have said yes. So it's like, how selfish are you to put the world? Arun killed it, right? He said, if there's a 1% chance, I'll give up any one of my family members to save
But
the
Cowboy.
world.
Well, Cowboy, you gotta realize, you want to save the world. Joe wants to save his world. Ellie has now become his world. His
I get
purpose
it.
to move
I
forward.
get it.
So his life, he's serving his own world. Shout out to
And-
Purple
and-
Haze, by the way. Thank you for showing us
Purple.
playing up
In
to
a couple, like
What
Will
up,
said,
what
in a
up?
couple weeks, a few weeks,
Dude, if I were Ellie, I might sacrifice myself if they were willing to start a new religion in my name. I would do it then.
they gotta put they gotta have a Mr. E building. Like, bro, if you put my head on the Statue of Liberty, then we got it.
Yeah. start a new religion, and then maybe I'll do it. We are all here thanks to Ellie. Yep, I would do it.
So, Rune, you said his world. Come on, bro. He knew her for 3 weeks. You got to understand that this man, he explained in one scene, which I kind of glossed over, that how he got that scar. He got that scar because he tried to kill himself. He tried to off himself, and he's the guy that missed. He didn't want to be in this world anymore. So he was ready just to end things at that particular moment. Finding Ellie, finding purpose, moving forward, a new life, a second chance to have that life that he never got to have with his daughter Zara. That's all he cared about. And for some people, that's the perfect world for them.
Well,
So
and that's why he actually tried to tell Ellie on the whole, do you get it? And Ellie didn't get it, right? He actually telling it that you were the one that saved me.
Exactly.
Essentially.
Right.
So
Yeah.
so it is tough. And if you want to look at it from Joel's perspective, right? If you put on Joel's position, if you cannot give me a good guarantee that what is gonna work, I will choose Ellie too. Now, if you tell me that, hey, we got it going on, we know what it is, and it changes the game a little bit, right? But it's a game of numbers. Like, you're sacrificing someone that means everything to you, that it might not work, and then you have to live with that consequences, right? But if you sacrifice someone that means everything for you, and then you save the world, then it's a different story. So
Yeah.
the number one, the number
think-
two, right?
I think
It's no place.
what's so compelling is that right there, right? Because like the guy said, when the game came out, people went on and on about this forever, and they did.
They
right?
still do. They still do.
And so look at us now. We all getting like, not everybody's on the same page. We got some people changing their answers, want their name. So, I mean,
I was pressured into an answer.
We say you can get it back. Are you coming back to the other side?
No. I'm on Nation's side. Go ahead.
Man, it's epic. Wow.
No, but this is what I love about this show, because this episode was gonna bring up this question that since 2013 we all have debated on Twitter, in person at the water break. There's no right or wrong here. That's the reality of it. Some of us are gonna be more practical, and we try to save everybody in the world. Some of us are more selfish and just want to save our own world.
Here's another question: if it were you and not you weren't Joel, but you were actually Ellie yourself, right? Would you sacrifice yourself?
If you had the choice, you're saying, if I had the choice to sacrifice myself, would I do it?
Exactly.
Well, Rune and I already said yes, so I already answered it. Rune followed up. So
listen, if I sacrifice myself, the world's gonna get fucked up anyway. Have you known people how they are? So just enjoy it a little bit. I don't know.
Shout out to the legend 3-5 Bo in the house.
What up, legend?
Shout out, brother.
Hey,
I would. I'll be honest, because do I want to live? Let's think about it. Do I want to live in a world? It's a tough choice, but I'm gonna go with. I probably won't sacrifice myself. I don't have it in me to do it. I gotta be honest. I gotta be true to myself. I'm a lion at the end of the day. I'm gonna survive. I'm gonna find a way. Yeah, I'm not sacrificing myself.
You're gonna be asleep anyway. You won't know it.
Yeah.
Obviously, waking up every day. I'm not doing it.
Let me ask you this: what if you had kids and a wife and all that? Like, would you want them to have a better world, or would you just feel like their world is better with you?
If I have kids and that's my world, right? As I said earlier, I would sacrifice myself for them. For the whole world, I'm just a lonely guy, just living bachelor life. No,
It's not even a guarantee.
This is the question coming from the guy that was willing to leave their kids behind to get eaten before he does.
Hey, listen. But this is the whole, like, the whole world is on the line, you know. And so if there was a legit way to like Rune said, even a 1% chance, right? They seem like they have more than a 1% chance. She had it, you know, like, hey, look, they're talking about making a vaccine, blah blah blah. So you know,
Yeah. Hey,
Let me ask you this though. Let's say you sacrifice yourself, but notice how through all the episodes, right? You had people doing cannibalism. You had the Fireflies. You have all the dictatorship formed within Phaedra. Would you believe that you sacrificing yourself would actually being
hold on.
able to deliver that cure properly,
Let me
is it just gonna screw up the world even more?
let me answer this, because take into account what we have now, which we didn't have before. Like, you talk about the freaking vaccine and with the pandemic, and people didn't even want to take that. So would they even trust that? So would your sacrifice go in vain? Like, because people would flat
no,
out
this
say,
is different.
I'm
This
not
is
taking
different. This is different.
I don't.
I'm not
know.
gonna touch that. I'm not gonna move
I'm
right past
gonna
that.
touch that rail. I mean, whatever
Well,
you
so-
thought of the pandemic, this is humanity. Like, some
Yeah,
people
but
are
this
going
is
to be
different.
flat out
The
like, it's the
so-
government. I'm not taking it.
With technology we have, right? I don't want to get into it, but we know that the vaccine was made very fast. We know our government and politics. So there's a lot of reasons for people not to want to take it, right? This is just a regular world. But post-apocalyptic, where creatures like, all right, for instance, why should I believe COVID is real or blah blah blah? Anybody can say all of that. But in this sense, you see creatures running around like, no, that's real. So I think people would be willing to take a vaccine.
Dude, but there's crazier people in the post-apocalyptic than there are now. So it's like even more conspiracy theories. They're eating people. And then they also have that religious sect or whatever, right? And then they also have these other communities, and there is no government. So who's to say, like, the Fireflies come out with the cure, right? Is Fedric going to trust the Fireflies? Like, is their whole are there people going to trust that? No.
I think one thing that happens when society falls, we revert back to our survival instincts, and I think whoever holds the power is gonna force people to take the vaccine. There's no. Do you want to? It is. You have to. It's basically what's gonna happen.
All you need to do is see that it works. It's not even forced. People are gonna take it because that's survival. So, Mr. E, I hear you, but that's because there's no cure, there's no nothing. So the world's on holding by strings, right? Because everybody's selfish. You know, you only got so much food. If you even go out to hunt for food, you could get killed. But knowing there's a vaccine, that changes the playing field.
Go ahead.
So add this to the mix, right? So only one group has the vaccine.
Exactly.
And we know what happens to humans when they have the only thing, right, that can save humanity. What will happen with it? Right? And so, do you trust enough the Fireflies to, let's say they can pull out the vaccine, they can pull up the antidote to actually be able to spread it properly? Would it really fix everything?
These guys couldn't get one package from point A to point B. Come on.
Are we gonna end up murdering each other?
But here's the thing.
Taking over.
Here's the thing. What will be the point of even making a vaccine if, one, you're going to hold it for power and don't give it to people? Because here's the thing. We're worried about people. Hold up. We're worried about people. No. Here's the thing, though. We're worried about people turning into creatures and infecting people, right? So the thing is, if I'm living in this world where it's creatures, the one thing I want to do is get rid of creatures. And the only way to get rid of creatures is to give people the vaccine so they can't become creatures, right?
Right, but that's the Firefly. Now think of Phaedra aspect, right? Phaedra created a civilization where they're controlling people now. So what takes on Phaedra trying to take over everything and controlling everything, right? So it is a lot more complex that I'm going to save humanity. Either or you will not. At the end of the day, humans are humans. We're going to kill each other no matter what.
And here's the thing, like, the threat level goes down, because if I'm vaccinated or somehow inoculated from becoming a zombie, then, you know, zombies that bite me, or they might eat me if there's a group or whatever, but they're not I'm not going to turn, and I can give it to my people, and then my people can let you guys turn into zombies, and then we'll just nuke the whole area and start over again, or something like that. Or if I'm really generous, I can charge these people money, or whatever is the currency now. I can charge them, and become rich.
Well,
Or
Well-
I can create like a monthly type of medicine or whatever where they're dependent upon it and make them into my slaves. There's all different types of possibilities. And in this post-apocalyptic world, there's a lot of moral conundrums that I don't think that is going to see it through where everybody's going to be able to reap the benefits of this cure.
Interesting.
It will be
These
easier
are
just to
opinions,
get a
that's what it
super
is.
suit so you don't get bitten.
this is what the story is so it gets you, it draws you in, and it creates this difference of opinions. We all have different ways on how we will act, and
Right.
let's face it, when survival mode kicks in, we become very selfish. It's all about us surviving.
yeah.
So
Oh,
it is hard. This is why no one can really settle the argument. Like, what's the right or wrong choice? I can tell you this: the chat said it was I think it was a 40-60 split. Let me see if I can get the chat here. The poll. It was 40% said yes that Joel acted correctly, and then 60% said no. So most of you would actually let Ellie go by the wayside. So if we're on a Democratic channel,
Exactly.
this is gonna Ellie, bye bye. You didn't make it. You're
I
not.
dropped off the package.
There you go. It's fair. So the next section here, we're gonna go ahead and I want to do two things. I want to rate the episode, and then I want to rate the whole season. So as a whole, we had 9 episodes. Episode 1 being the longest, arguably for a lot of people, probably the most impactful or considered the best episode of them all. We have episodes like episode 3 that a lot of people online were very surprised about the love story that they encountered. Very controversial to some, to others was a great piece of cinematography. We have episode 5 with the Henry and Sam story that made us all tear up. We have episodes like episode 7 and 8 where there was a very emotional and intense drama going on, and then we have episode 9 that is having us argue here what's right and what's wrong in a world when the world actually ended, essentially. I'm gonna go ahead and start with Carlos. Carlos, first of all, on a scale of 1 to 10, what do you rate this episode?
I think I will give the episode an 8. I mean, I think the story was good. I just was hoping that they will give me a little bit more of that first episode, that wow, that captivating, a little bit more action driven in there, something that engaged you a little bit more. But overall, it was a good episode. I mean, the storyline is good. They give you all of these tiny hints and things that you want to be looking at, so you can actually go back and connect it back with all the episodes that you've seen throughout the season. So I'll give it an 8.
And Carlos, and then for the whole season, from episode 1 to 9, as a complete package. Now that we know the whole story, what do you rate the episode? Because how impactful was for you? Was it a 1? Was it hot garbage? Was it a 10 for you? What was it for you?
The episode of the entire season.
The whole season.
So this is where a lot of people are gonna hate me. I think it's a 1, not just teasing. Actually, for me, if I compare how everything started and to where it is now, I will actually give it a little lower score. I will be closer to a 6 than a 7. And the reason why is that the story is good, the acting is great, what they did with the show and all of the hidden messages through it is fantastic. But my problem was episode 1 was so full of action, and you're thinking that it's gonna be a lot more driven through the issue with the fungi and all that, but it wasn't. Right? Most of the episode were just a lot of drama, very little action through the entire show. They make it through location to location fairly easily. It would have been nice for them to add a couple more clickers along the way or something. Just it doesn't have to be a long scene, right? But just another 30 seconds, 1 minute to make it more feel what it should have been or what they were trying to sell from episode 1. That's what I think. I'll be closer to a 7 than anything else.
All right, and Cowboy. Well, first of all, what do you rate the episode between 1 and 10?
So I'm gonna give this episode a 9. I liked it a lot. It did everything that I needed it to do for the game. I've been talking about this. They gotta nail the final episode. Knowing at the end what happens with Ellie, knowing that he decides to bring her back and kill everybody. I was like, they gotta nail it. Honestly, my wife and I watched it, and she said they did it all. They did everything at the end of the game. Like, they didn't miss anything. And then now we can nitpick about that they having extra action or not, right? Which I can see that totally, right? But I think I definitely give it a 9 because they added to the episode stuff that wasn't in the game that put that little bow on it. And then there's two things, right? One, they let you know how she got turned, and there was the one thing that I couldn't remember, and I even looked it up to see what happened in the game. Now I'm gonna go back to Left Behind. At the end of Left Behind in the game, they both get Ellie and her friend both get bit, and then they're sitting there. What should we do? And it ends. And I'm like, dude, I can't remember what happened. So I go back and watch the video on YouTube, and I'm like, yo, it actually ended like that. Like, and I can't remember. Did they ever say it in the game? And what was so cool about this episode is because they also brought that up. Ellie was able, because there's a girl at my job, she never played the game, and she watches it. She's asking me what happens. Like, I can't remember. She's like, how did you gonna end the episode and you don't know? And they even throw that in there. Ellie gets to say, listen, the first person I killed was my friend. I'm like, thank you, because I went on YouTube searching it. So for me, this episode gets a 9. It did everything I wanted and a little more. But so for something to get a 10, it's like, you know, it got to be the best thing ever.
That's really perfect.
Yeah. Now, the show, I'm gonna go and say right now, before this show, the best adaptation of a video game, I think, was Sonic, the Sonic movie.
Yep.
I think the Sonic movie did a great job. It felt like you were watching Sonic. Part 2, not so much. It got a little too cartoony. But part 1, I felt nailed it, right? I'm going to go as far to say this jumped over that for me. This, and I keep telling people, yes, you want to see all the action, but that's only because it's a video game. If you didn't have all this action, this game would have been Death Stranding. You'd have been like, it's a walking simulator. So it's a game, so you shoot, you kill, you shoot, blah, blah, blah. I think this is the best adaptation of a game for me. It's in the list of best games I ever played. It's my number 1 as a show. The important moments in the game, they put every important moment in the game. They sealed the deal for me. Yes, they added stuff that wasn't in the game, like what happens in the beginning of part 1 with the cordyceps. Perfect, brilliant. I'm okay with the episode 3 with Bill and Frank. Me personally, I give this show a 9. For me, because I'm very critical, and I'm also biased of the game, right? Because I love it so much. So in both, I give it a 9.
Mr. E, what about you? What do you rate the episode? Start out with 1 and 10, then following that, the whole show. What do you rate it as a full package?
This episode, I give an 8. It was good. Like you said, like we already established, I had some problems with the fight scene or the gun scene, yada yada. It's somewhat suspenseful. It was good. The series itself, I think I give it, and let me. Well, I'll just say, I think I give it a 7.5 for the series itself. If we're judging it along the lines of video games, I haven't watched a video game, or I haven't played a video game. It shows you how much I actually do play video games. The last console I owned was Nintendo 1 because I suck at video games. My younger cousin used to whip my ass, so I stopped playing video games. So I was good at sports, so I just beat him on the court. But
don't
overall,
lie. You know you lose every time on the court. So
no, I would beat him on the court, and then he would win Madden by like 100 or whatever, and so it would even out. But no, this series itself, I was thinking about it compared to a lot of the other shows that we have watched. You talk about Succession, House of Dragons, and Game of Thrones, and all the other ones that we've seen. It just didn't have the week-to-week entertainment and excitement overall that I'm looking for in a show. It was good. They had some nuggets. They have extra amount of stuff that they have to do to keep their video game crowd entertained and be authentic to that. It just, as a show by itself, I think there are other shows that I like. So I give this one overall as a show, not a video game adaptation, but as a show itself, a 7.5.
Can I jump in there real quick? I will say this, Mr. E. That was a good point. If this wasn't a game that I loved so much, as just a show, because when the first episode, I told people, I said, if you didn't play the game, it's just gonna be another zombie show. Like, don't, now, yes, it is emotional stuff, but as a show, as if it had nothing to do with a game, I would give it a 7. I will say that. If it was just a show, had nothing to do with the game, I'd be like, yo, it was good. The ending had me, but I would have felt like it wasn't enough action. It was up and down, just how you guys feel. But because I'm tying it to a game, and I get that a video game has all that filler. The filler is the action, right? So yeah, I would go as low as a 7 if it wasn't tied to a game.
The's no backseats now. You set a 7 now.
No, it still gets a 9. It still gets a 9. But because I can't erase me playing the game.
Yeah, no, you're invested, and so I'm glad that you're on, because we have multiple different perspectives, and so it's fair for both parts. And even what Carlos said, if I were in the clicker business, I probably would be unemployed because there weren't that many clickers in this entire series. So, but if I was in the Game of Thrones and I was a zombie, man, I would be eating for years. But it's just different. It's all good.
So for me, like this episode, I struggle with the scoring. After the episode, I'm like, what do I score it? Because it's I've been looking forward to this episode. I have hyped the heck out of this episode so much because there's no way they could have messed it up. There was no way, and they follow it to the T. Every single thing that is just how it plays out in the game, and it's engaging as it is in the game. And I'm like, you know what? This is good. So far, so good. They even gave us a little extra. They told us the origin story of Ellie's immunity. We saw her mom. We saw Marlene's relationship to Ellie, and we see the conflict there. And then the scene that I was looking forward to the most, one of the ones was the giraffes was there because it had a touching moment. And then we get to the hospital. And I was waiting for Joe to be just brutal and vicious. He's going to be slow and methodical. We're going to see him crawl and just fight these guys. Like, it was going to be beautiful and gorgeous. And we get this montage. And I was like, what was happening? I'm like, no. Don't do this. Like, no. I wish I had the Joaquin Trash Puts Alex saying, don't do this. No. I wish I had that because I'm like, what are you doing? This went way too fast. It made it feel not as important as it should. Now, everything else, even at the end, plays out as it plays out in the game. Because I was originally going to give this a 7 for the episode, because they have everything and they gave us a little more, I'm going to give the episode an 8. For the whole season, I love the show. I love good cinematography. I love good stories. I love good performances. Mystery, you know this. Foundation, one of my best favorite shows because of Lee Pace's performance in that show. That dude kills. And acting was at his best. I'm a huge fan of Pedro Pascal. I wish I had the photo ready to cue for between Pedro Pascal and I back in the day when I got to meet him. Probably. I'll show you that picture, right?
I seen it, and the world hasn't seen it, but I think it exists, ladies and gentlemen. It really does.
It is me, though. So yeah, I have to give the whole season. I'm giving it a 8.5. That's the score I'm gonna go with on that one, just because there were so many. There was a couple of moments that made me tear up. You made me feel something. Every time you made me feel something, that I'm gonna remember it. I'm able to talk about this with people outside of the community, and they are loving it as well. So I enjoy every inch of this. So it's definitely gonna be an 8.5 for me. I'm sending the picture right over right now, so it's gonna show up in a second. So, final thoughts, Carlos, in regards to the show and the episode.
I mean, I think I love the show. The show is really good. Like I said, I wish things would have followed more of the line of episode 1. Because the episode 1 was what's awesome. I remember watching episode 1 and talking to Lion and said, bro, what we need to do is set up a camera in my house. We can watch people's reactions And then now I go after seeing the whole season. It's like, yeah, we just wouldn't got that many reactions. Maybe a couple of tears, but nothing that will go like like online. So
Let me go
I
a
enjoyed
little
the
pause.
show.
A little
Go
pause,
ahead.
real quick. Sorry to interrupt you. I gotta put this picture up real quick. Don't make fun, guys. This is back like 2016 or something, 2015. So there we go. So that's me, and I'm Pedro Pascal. That was at a Comic Con where I got to meet him. This is when he was playing Oberyn Martell in Game of Thrones. I was like, oh man, they got a Spanish speaking actor from Latin America in Game of Thrones. So I gotta meet this guy. So that was me out there. So yeah, that's I just had to show that to the world. So back in the day,
It
You know, it's
exists.
crazy. I don't even remember him in Game of Thrones.
he was
Oh,
Oberyn
no,
he
Martell. He
He
got his
killed
head
it in that
crushed.
character.
Yeah, he got crushed. He was the big lover guy. He had the
The spear, the
girlfriend or
sun
whatever.
spear.
Yeah,
He got
exactly.
killed by the mountain. He was the one who poisoned the mountain, the big guy. He stabbed him with the spear at
Oh,
the.
okay.
He was the one
Yeah.
that fought
No, I didn't realize that was him.
for
Yeah, he was.
Tyrion at
Yeah.
the.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that was him. I guess if
Uh,
I
le-
went back and
uh,
watched it now, then I'd be like, oh,
Oh, Lakers lost, by the way, Mystery. That's what the legend wanted to let you know, I guess.
Oh man, yeah. I saw that they were playing. I forget who it was. But yeah, I'll check it out. I record every episode or every game.
Carry
So.
on, Carlos. Carry on with your final thoughts. My apologies.
So,
Sorry to interrupt.
anyway, overall, I think I liked it. I enjoy it. I can't wait for them to go to do another season and see where they take us. Like I haven't played the game still, so now I'm gonna try to
yeah.
see and play the game one and see how it goes. But overall, I enjoy it. It was a good show.
Cowboy, friend of the show. What was final thoughts? Anything you want to add on?
I loved it, man. I loved it. They did me justice. They made me proud. I was nitpicking before the show came out. I was very upset with the casting. I felt Joel and Ellie looked nothing like themselves. I kept saying they should at least get people that look like them. It bothered me. It bothered me. It bothered me. It bothered me. I was less enthusiastic about the show. Now I'm like, man, Pedro Pascal can be my Joel and Bella Ramsey could be my Ellie. Like they did a great job, amazing job. And you know, the game is a lengthy game. And when you think of all the main moments in the game, they captured all the main moments. They add all the moments in there. It was great. Now, the nitpick side of it, it'd have been nice to have more zombies, right? I think they took a play out of the Walking Dead book when the Walking Dead got established, and it was like, well, it's about the humans, and you don't see that many zombies. So, but like I always say, the game is story driven, and I feel like the zombies, you running around killing zombies in the game, really is just a filler to the story. To be honest, I beat the game twice, and I'm looking forward to beating it again, and I can't wait to beat it now after watching the show. But I loved it, man. They did an excellent job. They made me proud, and I will say this: to have Troy Barker, the guy who plays Joel in the game, right? In the show, they found a spot for him. That was beautiful. To come to find out that the girl who plays Ellie in the game played as Ellie's mom in the show, and they just happen to look alike, like as if they could be related. To find out that Marlene played Marlene in the game and in the show, like, so
that's amazing. That's special.
These little things. I even watched the day after I watched all the IGN comparison of the game and the show. This thing completely took me by storm for the last 9 weeks, and I love it. So I love it. And
they also had Tommy. The guy that plays Tommy was in the show. The voice of Tommy. He was Kathleen's second guy with the beard, the military guy. He was he's the guy that plays Tommy. That was nice of them to have the actors have their time in the sunlight, you know, because their voice acting, they play such a big role in bringing these characters to life. By the way, guys, Carlos is the dance instructor, owns the dance school. You can check him out at tonoslatingdance.com. Amazing instructor in the Tampa area. We can also do online classes, so you guys need it. Cowboy has an amazing YouTube channel. He's the king of content. This man streams almost every day. and whenever Sandy's not home, you know he's gonna stream again.
Yeah.
Anyway, he has a We
So
Wrestle
you just
Wednesday.
made me look bad. So my daughter was complaining how you always streaming, you don't never talk to me. I'm like, I got a schedule. Only stream Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You could talk to me after that. So she just came home from her grandparents. She walked in the room and she see my lights on. She's like, so I hear her and Sandy's like, yeah, he's talking about a show. She's probably like, yeah, I thought you only stream the 4 days a week, but I had to jump on here, man. So
honorary guest, we appreciate you being here.
We definitely appreciate you guys. The website is right under their names. The YouTube channel name is right under their names, so you can check them out for real.
Actually, I just changed mine late last night. I changed the name on my channel.
What?
After all these years.
The what? What is it now?
I just simply made it Cowboy King of Content. I
I
was talking to somebody, and he was like, dude, what does that even mean? I was like, well, it's special to me. The picture is me and my grandma. He was like, yeah, but so many people watch this, or King Thrash. I was talking to King Thrash late last night, and he was like, dude, people always ask me, what's his channel? They're like, what? And then they like, forget about it. So I was like, you know what? He's like, dude, you got to do better branding. I was like, I love branding. He was like, but, I was like, you know what? So I made the decision, and I just made the name. I actually made new artwork and everything. So I made my new profile picture, my new banner, and everything's consistent. Because people call me Cowboy. People say King of Content. But people don't know, and now your mama knows. So
I went ahead and fixed it. It's fixed now. So you can find a Cowboy King of Content. There we go. Should have let me know earlier.
I felt bad. I was like, I just write it out, but yeah.
It's all good. So yeah, thank you so much, guys, for being part of the show. It was such a great discussion.
Much appreciated.
Probably the longest stream we ever done. We always keep it 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And this was it was very interesting. It was one of the most fun ones we've done for sure. And you guys are part of that. Thank you to the chat, the legend,
awesome.
Purple Haze Room, Plant-Based Ministry. Lord, what was it? Lord Grid was 19, I think it was, and we had
Legend 350.
Legend 350. Yep. That's how you gotta say. The General Grid was 19. So
Gotcha.
Thank you so much for everybody participating. All the comments. R.I.P. You're now your mama now.
I'll still say it, but you did drop the ball on one thing, Lion.
What was that?
Months ago, if not a year ago, Mr. E, you may remember, Lion said, I'm gonna have you on a show and we're gonna prove to you why to get HBO. And guess what? I said to my wife, after this show, I'm canceling HBO Max, and you never ever gave me a reason why I need to keep it. So I'm just bringing that up. That was supposed to be months ago.
You know what happened? So that was supposed to be an anniversary show episode. And that's when everything was happening with the channel, some changes that we were going through. It fell to the way. So that was the Lions Den challenge. But I'm a man of my word. It's gonna happen. It's gonna come up with a new. We're gonna. So one announcement we have is we're doing a new show called The Lowdown, which is gonna be a different style podcast on the same channel. It's just gonna be more open topic, and I think we can fit the Lions Den challenge there. We're gonna talk about like the different streaming services, different content that's available, the cost of it, all different kind of topics that pertain to the medium that we engage. We still have our show reviews every once in a while, like Villains is coming, Succession is coming, Foundation is in the future, The Wheel of Time is in the future. We're going back to our roots with those shows. So that stuff is coming back. We cannot wait. So that stuff's coming. So we probably fit the Lions Den challenge. I'm a man of my word. You're gonna return back to HBO, because I do stand by that. It is the best streaming service out right now. With that said, Mr. E, you have any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I'm worried about season 2 because there are people that are invested and not invested. I'm one of the people that are not invested because I haven't played the video game ever. So with them staying authentic to the video game, I think there's a gap between the regular audience. The pace and everything, as I mentioned, is somewhat, at least some areas of opportunity. So are they going to be able to bridge that gap, or are they not going to be able to? I don't know. And we'll see when season 2 comes and go from there.
All right. With that said, thank you so much, everyone that watched. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And that's it for this episode. Mr. E, take us home.
Hey, thank you guys for joining. Thanks to Cowboy. Thanks to Carlos. Much appreciated. We love having you guys on. And everybody else that's watching, stay tuned for the next drop. Until that time, I'm E. This is Lion, and we are
Unstructured.